If I've learned anything in 35 years of professional fishing, it's that knowledge is everything. Knowing where the fish are, how to catch them is everything. On this week's show, I'm really excited because we're going to pass along a lot of knowledge that's going to help you put more speckled trout in your boat. This is going to be a lot of fun. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
It's time for your weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southeast region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hi everybody, so glad you're along with us for this week's episode. If you like catching speckled trout, you're going to love this week's show. Why? Because we are going to load you up with lots of solid information that you can use to locate and catch more and bigger speckled trout headed into these cooler fall and early winter months coming up. And to do that, I'd like to welcome you in right now to one of my favorite speckled trout fishing hotspots. This is the Trinity Bay System. It's located just east of the Houston-Galveston area on the Texas Gulf Coast, and it is home to some excellent speckled trout fishing. And to help us do that, one of the best trout fishing experts that I've ever met, Captain Tim Young, is going to jump in the Mako Pro Skiff 21 and help give us all the information we need to go and catch some trout today and to help you in the next few weekends coming up as the weather cools off. And while we're out doing that, we take you around your local region, your local lakes, rivers, and bays for your fishing reports for this week from our expert team of insider reporters. We are in for a bunch of fun today. Let's get out in Trinity Bay right now, and while we're doing that, let's get you started with the Weekend Planner back at the FSN studios.
The Salooner tables are predicting fair game fish activity for both days of the weekend, and peak daylight times for fishing are expected to take place around the dawn and dusk hours. Sunrise will take place at 7:27 with sunset occurring at 7:02, and the moon will be 55% illuminated. Stay with us for regional fishing updates from all of our reporters, and I'll return with 2015 Classic champion Casey Ashley on this week's Ask the Pro. Back in a bit.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Exide AGM Marine Batteries. Starts like new, stays like new longer. Motor Guide Trolling Motors, because accuracy matters. And Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Champions aren't born, they're made.
There's one, Tim. All right, there's a trout.
A little speck.
Okay, it's a start. All right, everybody, welcome back. We've made it out, and I've caught a trout. We're out on Trinity Bay, and as soon as I get him loose, I'm gonna give you a quick look at him right there. There's your Texas Gulf Coast speckled trout. We're not keeping him today. Back he goes. And we've been joined in the boat by Captain Tim Young. Tim, step down just for 1 second. I know we're in fish, but I want to just set everybody up on the first important thing about fall fishing for speckled trout, as we promised. Where are these fish? It's a migration deal. Where are they moving from, and where are they going to in general?
You bet. Most of the time these fish are moving towards your estuaries, your marshy areas, where you have shrimp, shad, etc. coming out of the marsh as the water temperature cools. And these fish know that's happening, so they're moving up there to meet them and eat them.
It's always about food.
You bet.
But they're coming from structure, deeper offshore structure, like well pads, drilling rigs, oyster reefs, wrecks, any kind of structure. I guess they've been living out there deeper trying to stay as cool as possible,
Oh, you bet.
and that's where the bait is.
Yeah, and they're moving to where most of the bait is going to be, and that's where all these shrimp are coming out.
So your first point is you want to try to stay ahead of that migration wherever you live, whether it's along the Gulf Coast, the Atlantic coast. Be in front of that migration. Be in a place where the fish are coming to you. So try to figure out where that migration is. And here in Trinity Bay right now, we're right in the middle of it. They've actually they're kind of leaving that deeper structure. They're not quite up in the marshes yet, up in the really shallow stuff. So they're kind of in transition, but that's where they're going, up in the shallow stuff. We'll talk more about what to look for coming up in just a little bit. Got to start? Got Captain Tim Young here, my good buddy for many years, trout expert extraordinaire. Let's get you some fishing and lake reports to get you started right now.
This part of the program is brought to you by Visit Jacksonville. Northeast Florida offers great fishing, family-fun beaches, top restaurants and resorts that are easy to get to, and offer outdoor fun for everyone. So come on, visit Jacksonville. Well, fall fishing is really underway in the Southeast. Bait fish schools are massed and moving. They're pulling out of rivers and bays, and that's turning on all kinds of fish. And all over the coastal Southeast, this is the time of year for redfish. October reds, that's the time to get them. Captain Patrick Garmison over in Alabama, who fishes Mobile Bay, says that they're really chewing now. Redfish of all sizes, lots of slot fish, plenty of bulls down on Dixie Bar. And he says lots of the creeks and rivers that feed Mobile Bay are just loaded with bait and lots of redfish. Some of the places that he recommends are Weeks Bay, Tensaw River, Blakely River, Dog River, Mobile River. The West Fowl River also has been good. In Mississippi, it's much the same story. Redfish everywhere. Lots of trout and reds are around the dock lights and bridge lights at night, and they're also around bait fish schools. In Georgia, Captain Greg Hildreth says that the bull redfish are everywhere. He had a day recently. We had 2 anglers fishing. This is all catch and release fishing. He had 59 redfish. Each fish was over 40 inches. It's like that all on the coast. Find some rock jetties, inlets, put baits on the bottom when the tide's rolling, and you should be in a big redfish. Well, that's it for the Coastal South. Get out in the water and take a youngster with you when you go.
The Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi Freshwater Fishing Report is sponsored this week by Lake Guntersville, Alabama. Boasting 69,000 acres of clear blue perfection, the area offers hotels, lakefront cabins, public boat ramps, and restaurants. If you prefer big fish and a big pond, Guntersville is the right destination. www.fishguntersvillelake.com. Now, it's finally beginning to feel like fall across our region, with the temperatures dipping into the 70s, and it's even cooler in the early mornings. This change has the fishing getting better and better. It's also a special time in the mountains of North Georgia because the brown trout are beginning their annual spawning ritual. Big wily browns are some of the hardest fish to fool, but they get incredibly careless during this period. Sight casting in the pools and creeks and rivers is possible right now, as these fish feed up ahead of the bare winter months to come, and they get very territorial during this spawn. Small floating minnow lures, shiny spoons, or big streamer flies can be successful right now. But you need stealth when you approach the water, and you also need to wear muted colors. In Alabama, the smallmouth bass fishing is good this week on the headwaters of Wilson Lake below Wheeler Dam on the Tennessee River. Bouncing a live shad along the rocky bottom works best. In Mississippi, the white bass are schooling and biting in Granada Lake on the Yallabusha River.
My name is Kevin Von Segern. I work for the Department of Natural Resources in the Wildlife Resources Division. Today, we are at the Walton Dove Field here in Social Circle, and we're going to talk about dove field management and how we do our fields here. There's a lot of different things you can plant for doves in the state. We choose our crops to plant based on past experience and what we feel like doves prefer. They all require a different amount of time to grow. The wheat that we're standing in right here, this is a mowed and burned off wheat field. This field here we planted the middle of last October, and we just got done mowing and burning it, I guess probably 2 weeks ago. The sunflowers, for example, behind us here, we planted those back in the middle of April. Third week of April or so is generally when we go to plant those. Millet, you can get away with planting it a little bit later because their germination time on it is much shorter than what it is on some other crops. The University of Georgia, the Cooperative Extension Service, they can do soil samples for you. And if you tell them what specific type of seed you're doing, whether it's wheat, sunflowers, millet, corn, whatever the case may be, they can do a test on your soil and tell you what nutrients are needed. That way you know what type of fertilizer and lime is necessary. And it simplifies for you what you need to do, and it also makes it a heck of a lot cheaper most of the time. Small grains, again, like the wheat we're standing in or the millet fields we have here on this property, typically we'll go in, we'll make sure that it's all sprayed, and then we'll go through there after everything's sprayed and it's good and browned out. We'll go through there and mow them and burn them after we have a good established fire break around them. And that gives you the best opportunity to have a large number of doves. What the goal is to have bare ground with just seed on top of the ground. As far as sunflowers go, there's really not a whole lot that has to be done with sunflowers. If it's clean enough, the sunflower seeds just fall out naturally and the birds will just feed right up under it. As far as what can and cannot be done to the fields, a lot of people will come out, they'll look at the fields and they'll wonder, how do we have such a large amount of seed on the property? Some folks will say that if we hadn't done it, they would think it wasn't legal. And with doves, you can do almost anything to the field to get it like you want it with the exclusion of adding to it. You can't take seed off it and then put it back. You can't add seed to it that didn't grow. But if you grow the seed here and manipulate it, you can have a great shoot. Mourning doves are the most hunted game species we have in the state for migratory birds. We've expanded a lot of the dove fields throughout the state on our management areas, creating more opportunities and better opportunities. It's a great social event, it's good for families, and we hope y'all have a good time and a good dove season.
There's one. Oh, that's a decent trout. Behind the boat. He's running. Come up here. Here he comes. Wow. Wow, what a cutter upper he is. All right. That's a decent trout right there. Settle down, fella. Man. All right, well, we have another trout for you right there. And we've changed. Welcome back, everybody. We're on Trinity Bay today with Captain Tim Young. That one's got a mouthful of my plastic shrimp tail. Actually, it's a swim tail so far down in the back of his throat. But that's a good fish. I'm going to have to do a little surgery on this fish. But while I do, Tim, step down. I want to ask you something. So we talked earlier about locating the fish in the migration, where they're going to be moving as the water cools. They're going to be moving back to the mouths of the estuaries and the bay systems and the creeks where the shrimp are coming in.
Drains.
Once you get into those areas, you know you're in fish. There are two ways that you've already taught me today that you can actually pinpoint the location of these fish. What are those two ways?
Yeah, I mean, fall means looking for birds for a lot of people, fishing the birds. Where these trout are actually chasing the shrimp up to the top, birds are on top of them, it's a dead giveaway.
And we've got some shots where we did run up there and just showed some of those birds diving at the water, so that's a dead giveaway. You fish right under those, be careful, run your trolling motor very quietly in there so you don't spook them, but you can catch them that way. Yeah. And then the other thing is what we're doing right now.
We're working slicks. These fish start feeding and they start basically burping. It's some oil that comes up from the fish and makes a slick on top of the water. Read them, watch them, they'll start popping. And you just go right to the freshest one. It'll look like the size of your boat. When you see it come up, get right to it and start chunking.
So you see all the rippled water, all the wave action, but you see a slick spot right in the middle of that, be about the size of your boat. Ease up to that, fish on the upwind side of it. That's a great way as well. All right, back that fish goes. See ya, partner. All right, we got a little action working out here on Trinity Bay. Right now it's time for more fishing reports from your local lakes, rivers, and bays.
The Hydrowave by TH Marine uses actual sound patterns recorded of bait fish and or of bass feeding on bait and emits those recordings through a speaker under the water. The goal is to activate bass and or keep them active for longer periods of time. To make your next fishing trip more effective, check out the Hydrowave at thmarine.com. Hey guys, welcome to this week's report. You know, we've had finally some really cool nights. The water temperature is really starting to lower in the Tennessee and Kentucky region, and that's made the shallow fishing the deal. The catfish are really biting through this region too. A lot of the lakes and rivers are being drawn down for winter pool, for flood control, so it's creating some current on the main river and main lakes. The catfishing has been full swing in this area. The bass, like I said, shallow is the ticket. Dale Hollow is on fire right now. Center Hill's on fire right now. Lake Cumberland's on fire. Chickamauga's on fire. Kentucky Lake's on fire. Get you a topwater bait, get you a spinner bait, get you a little, crankbait, a square bill, a lipless bait, and go fish shallow main river bars. That is the deal. Everybody wants to run back in the creeks, and that's right around the corner, but they're not there quite yet. Get out on those shallow main river bars and find where a ditch intersects a bar and hits the river, and get in that ditch and follow it. Guys, it's look for birds. It is awesome right now. The weather's beautiful, it's comfortable, and they're really biting. We'd love to see you on the water in Tennessee, Kentucky. God bless.
There's another one. All right. Got a couple of fish working in here. Made a big, long cast with the wind out there. Well, at least no monster, but he would be another keeper anyway. Well, we're gonna go to a quick commercial break right here, but before we do, let me tell you that we've had to move around a lot today. That's your next key to finding and catching a lot of these trout in the fall, is that you've got to move. The fish are moving a lot. The reason they're moving so much is they're chasing down these little balls of shrimp, little balls of minnows about that big, little shad, and they're herding them around. You saw all the bird activity. In fact, there's a couple of boats fishing birds just right on the other side of us here, but I didn't want to get in there and crowd them. And so just kind of roam in the area, but you've got to move a lot. This is not the type of thing where you want to anchor up, throw live bait out there, lay it on the bottom and sit there. Not that kind of fishing. Move, quick cast, change baits, fly around to different areas. We've probably hit 30 or 40 spots just in a half a day so far. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Tracker Boats. It's more than just a boat, it's a tracker. Costa sunglasses, see what's out there. Mercury Marine, official outboard of Fox Sports Outdoors. And Lowrance Electronics, find, navigate, dominate.
Whoa, there's one. Yeah. All right. We've got one. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Still on Trinity Bay today, and as you can see, there's a trout. And we're gonna let him go back right there. As you can see, we've lost Captain Tim. Captain Tim Young is not with us right now. He had some prior commitments and had to hook him out of here, but he was with us for a few hours and passed along quite a bit of information, showed us around Trinity Bay some. Let me give you a little bit of explanation about technique right now. We talked to him before he left a lot about the fact that these fish are migrating, they're active, they're heading towards where the bait is coming out of the marshes. So you can't see it, but back here behind us is just solid marsh, and that's where all the shrimp have been spending the summer. And as the water cools down, they're going to pour out into this bay. So we're positioned out on the mouth of that. But here's the deal. These fish are very active. They're feeding, so you want to use a very active presentation. Let me climb back up here on the front deck and I'll show you something about what I'm talking about here. You want to make a big long cast with a plastic shrimp tail on a lead head, a crankbait, a top water, whatever, and you want to keep it moving. So what I'm doing, shake that rod tip and turn that reel handle. Shake the rod tip up, turn the reel handle. Shake that rod tip up, turn the reel handle, and you keep that bait moving. They're not on bottom. They're up in the water column, feeding up, chasing bait to the surface. So you want to kind of mimic that, mimic the shrimp and the bait that the fish are feeding on. Quick little pops of the rod, let it settle back. Quick little pops of the rod, let it settle back. Keep that bait moving fairly quickly. That's your technique for catching them in the fall. Fast presentation. Hey, let's get you some more fishing and lake reports.
Hey folks, it's time for your Carolinas Report, brought to you by the Dead Dog Saloon. Located on the Marsh Walk in Murrells Inlet, make sure you put us on your list of destinations to visit when you're in the Grand Strand area. We're open 7 days a week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Come by and see why we're always about our food, view, and the music here. I tell you what, saltwater side of things, I love talking about king mackerel fishing, and it's that time of the year. So many great tournaments throughout the Carolinas this time of the year as we move into the fall. And I tell you, from the Fall Brawl, the Rumble in the Jungle, the U.S. Open, some incredible king mackerel fishing, and there's a reason for that. The bite is incredible this time of the year. From the bite on the beach where those menhaden are running, also to the bite on those live bottoms in that deeper water. You can catch some huge fish this time of the year. Get out and chase those schools of bait on the beach just like you were doing for cobia, and you can find some big king mackerel. Again, put out some good live baits, whether it's menhaden or a bluefish, and don't even think about turning down a lizardfish, putting out there for a live bait, but you can catch some huge king mackerel this time of the year. Also on the nearshore reefs, we're starting to see our flounder really show up and pack up in there when they're getting ready for that trip offshore as the water temperature's cool. You can catch some big flounder this time of the year on those nearshore reefs. Again, a big heavy jig with some live bait or some artificials work great out there this time of the year. This has been your Carolinas Report, brought to you by the Dead Dog Saloon. Remember, fish smarter, not harder, and keep your chaos organized.
Be sure to join Fox Sports Outdoors again next week, Thursday night at 6, or catch the repeat airing Sunday morning at 8:30. And you can always watch the latest episode in full HD on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Plus, catch up on all past episodes by clicking the archive button, and see lots of how-to and product videos by clicking the how-to button. Also, stay up to date with the latest fishing news, videos, and photos by clicking the follow button on our Twitter feed, and get lots of that same info by clicking the like button on our Facebook page. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. Lose, fueled by passion, driven by innovation. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland Lures. With our baits, a good day of fishing is in the bag. And Strand Fishing Lines, the standard of dependability.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get right to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Floyd wants to know, do bass feed more aggressively when it's raining or not? For the answer, we asked the 2015 Classic champion, Casey Ashley.
When it's raining, bass are a little more aggressive. You know, the only time that it will actually hurt you is if you're on a strong topwater bite, like where you're catching them all day. If it rains, it will completely shut those fish down. You'll think there's not even a fish in the water anymore. But, you know, warm weather, like it's a thunderstorm rolling in, as soon as it passes, most of the time they'll pick right back up. But during a rainstorm or a thunderstorm, it'll kill a topwater bite dead.
Thank you, Casey. If you want some help from one of the pros, go to foxsportsoutdoors.com and follow the Ask the Pro link to submit a question. Now it's time for the Costa Catch of the Week, where someone wins a new pair of shades.
We are back at Thompson's Fishing Camp at the boat ramp at Trinity Bay on the Texas Gulf Coast. And as always, it's time for this week's winner in the Costa Catch of the Week contest. He is Dustin Reels of Sparta, Tennessee, showing a 42-pound blue catfish he caught at Watts Bar Lake in Tennessee. If you'd like to be our next winner in the contest, just go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com, click on the Costa Catch of the Week area on the right side of the front page. You'll need to be 18 years of age to enter, and whoever's in the photograph also needs to be at least 18 years of age. And if you'd like to see all of the Costa frame and lens styles, go back to the front page of our website, click on the Costa logo, you'll see them all there, including the frame style that I was wearing on this week's episode. This is a new one called Raphael. Next up on the Academy Right Stuff, you can use either a bait caster or a spinning rod and reel to catch these speckled trout. I used for the bait caster a Lew's Custom Speed Stick series. It's a 7-foot medium light action rod made specifically to do this, and I had it rigged with the Lew's Super Duty bait cast reel. Again, it's perfect for this inshore saltwater fishing. For the spinning rod, I use the Lew's TP1 Speed Stick series. It's the white rod, and again, it's the inshore model made specifically for this style of fishing. As far as the lure goes, most of the fish we caught were caught on a 1/4 ounce lead jig head with a soft plastic swim tail body on it. You can use a plastic shrimp tail. You can also catch them on top waters, but this is my go-to bait for speckled trout. Our vocabulary word for the day today is paradigm. Paradigm is basically like a pair of glasses through which you view life and the world around you. Did you know that you have mind habits? Your brain actually gets into patterns, and they can be either positive or negative. And did you know that they can absolutely impact everybody around you, your family and your friends? As a matter of fact, facial expressions many times give away a paradigm. They can either be smiles or frowns. It takes intentional practice to learn to view the world in a positive light and to look for the good things around you. Did you know that you can choose your paradigm? Which will you choose? From Trinity Bay, just outside Houston, Texas, on the Gulf Coast, until next week, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.